YouTube. I'll upload it later today. Now clear your mind. Get ready. Here comes the start of the YouTube video, okay? 3, 2, 1. Alright, boys. Welcome to another coaching lesson between Eidel and Makabe. Makabe. This is a Zerg versus Protoss, and Eidel will be the Zerg under the microscope today. We're going to be talking about anything he can do better and things I think he can improve on overall and little tips and tricks along the way. Let's begin. Alright, first of all, we have 17 drones going into a hatchery. Not bad. If you're ever a Zerg player that gets annoyed because you get blocked by probes from Protoss in your natural, I would suggest going for a 16 hatch instead of a 17 hatch. You can totally do 17. I actually personally do 17 all the time just because it's habit. But just know, if you ever want to actually avoid having a probe block your hatchery, if you just take a 16 hatch, go like, still make an overlord, don't do double gas, but just stop droning at 16 and then boom, there you go. You can prevent the probe from blocking you, but if it doesn't happen in the first place, then you're totally fine. Then it's good. Then you're good to go. With this overlord, you're pathing. I like it. You're going right towards the ramp. That's the best place you can go, because if you go towards the ramp, you're not only going to see everything at his potential wall here or his wall here, but you will also see if he has expanded. And knowing if if the Protoss has or has not expanded is extremely important, because now you'll know, oh, I'm not getting one base all in. There's nothing crazy going on. He's not rushing tech. He's not proxying. It's important to know all of this. So, and then also the Protoss is always going to wall against Zerg if they're going to play standard, because they're going to prevent themselves from getting killed by like a speedling run by. It's just standard. So scouting here is perfect. I like your positioning so far. And you're opting to go for a gas. Since you're going for a gas, also, another thing I like is that you have not taken drones off the mineral line to do it. You don't need to rush a gas super insanely fast. So far, not bad. I like what's going on in this game so far. We'll have to see, I guess, what you do with your Overlord in a minute here, and we'll also see what goes on with your gas after you get speed. I would recommend probably stopping the speed, or stopping gas production after speed if you're not going to all in the Protoss. But we'll see, we'll see. So right now, just with seeing what you see right now, you see a gateway and you see a core. This core is only halfway done. You can already, this core would be probably, and really what I'm about to say is it's the placement of the core and the placement of the gateway. You can assume there's probably a nexus right here, which you should be scouting further in just to confirm it. But already, just because you saw the front wall here, you should feel a little bit safer as a Zerg player going, okay, I'm not going to get all in by something weird. And as you scout a little deeper in, you see, oh, the nexus. Cool. A zealot first. Okay. Zealot first tells you something. All right. Zealot first tells you this guy wants to have a unit. So there's two things. Okay, there's two things. He made a zealot first, which is not a gas requiring unit. All right. It tells you that he wants to have a zealot just in case you do a timing or whatever, you attack him. But the core is not done yet. And if you notice, the gateway is still making another unit. You cannot make a sentry or a stalker or an adept until the core, the cybernetics core, is done. But it's still not done just yet, and he's still making another unit out of the gateway. You can see because the little orb ball up here is fizzing pretty fucking, it's going crazy. There's action going on in there. So he's making a unit out of the gateway. And if this guy makes 2 zealots, if I were the Zerg player in the situation going, okay, this guy went Nexus first, and now he's making 2 zealots right away, I would assume there's going to be something really tech related going down right away. It could be for quick Dark Templars, it could be for a Robo, it could be for a Stargate. You don't know what it is yet because it's still really early, but you could assume just by seeing this, go, okay, he's probably going to tech really hard because what's he doing with his gas? So I think getting aggressive is basically, to elaborate further on that, getting aggressive against this guy in terms of harassing him is a mistake, in my opinion. Because if you don't all in him, like if you wanted to, seeing what I see right now, if this guy's not going to do something like make sentries, the potential for him dying to an all-in is higher now. It's gone from here to here. Because if he just rushes down tech and he's making zealots to defend himself only that are completely non-upgraded, he's way more susceptible to being killed by like a Ling Bane all-in or something like that. Because his tech most likely will not be out in time to stop the death from happening. You know, so he's more vulnerable to an all-in because of this so far. So if your plan is to all-in, it's okay. But if your plan is to just play macro, then do not make... you have the control announcer. Then don't... I would say don't make too many units in this case with what's going on.
You made another queen. Nice.
So you're going for a third. Good shit. You only made 6 slings. I like it. You're droning again, which is good, and you're still mining gas though. This is the one thing I don't like. So there's 2 things here I think could be fixed. One is if you don't plan on being aggressive really hard, which it doesn't seem like you are because you have not started a Richhorn or a Bane Nest, don't keep mining gas this hard. And if your plan was to tech really fast, it's really risky nowadays against Protoss to tech really quick because Protoss is so highly positioned around mid-game timings, which will kill you if you tech really hard as Zerg, because you'll have no economy because you've tech so fast. So right now, your economy is just you have a well-saturated main, but you have a very undersaturated natural. And if you look at your larva, you have 5 larvae sitting there right now because you're wanting also to take a third, which is good. I like that you're taking a third, but you can't actually spend your larva. You have so many fucking larvae just sitting here. Your main is actually capped out, so you're not even generating more larvae now because you have 3. If you guys didn't know this, 3 is how many larvae can sit on the hatchery until the hatchery will then stop generating new larvae. It'll just sit there and stop production. So you never want that to happen. It's a bad thing if that happens. And your natural already has 2, so it's pretty close to 3 as well. This is bad to have this much larvae. You want to be spending it as you get it, and you can't do it if you keep mining gas like this. So we'll see what happens with the gas, but I would already say this is a mistake if your plan is to go for a third and to drone. And the second thing is this Overlord should be actually scouting into the base a bit further. It's totally fine if you lose this Overlord, but you do want to know what tech this guy is going for. You actually have no idea right now, so you have no idea what to prepare for. There's a Robo right there. This Robo... With the information you have right now, I would assume this is going to be a a Robo for a Prism, because most of the time if a Protoss is going to go for a Robo for Immortals, they'll open up with sentries. Fucking this ain't control announcer.
You made another queen. Nice.
But yeah, I think scouting with the Overlord is super important. You wanna have an idea of what tech you're fighting against. And you can see, if you don't actually know this right now in the game, but on the production tab, what we just said earlier, where this dude is pumping units out of the gateway non-stop, and now your Overlord even sees he's made 3 zealots, okay? You're like, what the hell? There is no gas that has been spent in this natural yet, other than the fact that he's starting something on the core, which you can most likely assume it's Warp Gate, because that's the most common thing that's going to be upgraded right away. Most Protosses will not be like, let's just get air weapons right away. It does happen, but it's rare. That's a sky toss thing. But if you see the Robo, you can safely assume it's not going to be a +1 weapons on air. It's going to most likely be a Warp Gate. But as the Zerg player, I go, okay, this guy has made, a Robo in my face so far. I see a gateway and I see 3 zealots. What the hell is this guy doing with his gas? There's a very high chance now. I did say DTs were a possibility earlier. The possibilities of DTs now at this point, I'm going to take the production tab away as well, so it's not like I'm cheating. The possibility of DTs at this point now is way higher than ever before, because there's no gas at all being spent really, and you have a lot of unaccounted for gas that could be somewhere in his base. This really is looking more and more and more like a potential Warp Prism timing for charge lots or Dark Templars. That's the two builds I would say this is most likely going to be. So scouting is very crucial and needs to be, you know, this Overlord needs to be scouting in further. And a good thing to do against Protoss, I would say, is your second Overlord you make, actually have it kind of like chill it in front of your natural. Okay, I'm actually gonna pause it again because there's so much information I'm trying to give, and I'm not gonna be able to talk about it enough if we let the game keep playing the whole time. In the beginning of the game, this would be great if you did this with your Overlords. The first Overlord scouts right away across the map, sees his wall if he's expanded, but it dives in deeper. And if you would have gone in deeper to his base, you would have seen, oh look, a Twilight Council, and look, he's actually getting charged too. But you would have seen, you know, the tech more into the base. The other thing I would love you to do is leave your second Overlord in front of your natural, or like kind of near your natural, just to make sure you don't get something like cannon rushed and not know about it. Leave it at your natural until your natural is like basically done. It'd be like 90% of the way done or so. It's like really close to being done. If you know for sure there's nothing going on at your natural, you then send that Overlord as a backup scout across the map, maybe like to the side of his base somewhere. Just in case he makes a stalker to kill your first Overlord, you can have a backup Overlord to scout in after, you know, and maybe see the tech again a second time. But it is 100% okay if you lose the first Overlord. Because if you can figure out what he's doing before he does it, you can optimize your build 1,000 times better than playing completely blind, which is almost what you're doing. You're not playing completely blind, but you're playing close to it. You do see 4 Zealots and a Robo, which looks like charge lots, possibly, or DTs. But yeah, it's important to scout. You want to know everything that's going to happen before it happens. That's how you play Zerg properly. So you've also, with your economy, you've chosen to go for a quick layer. You're also gassing really hard. You're actually going to have an undersaturated economy, just because of how much gas you're mining and how much you've built so fast. Okay, so you've made gases a little too quickly. You've built up to 3 gases before you've even saturated your natural. This is way too fast, and you haven't even you've got 1 drone coming to your third. Your saturation on your minerals is so low, and your saturation on your gas has been so high this whole time that if you look at the units tab, you still have 4 larvae sitting there at this point. You still have, you'll always have throughout this whole opening of the game, you're always going to have a lot of larvae sitting there. And it's not even like you made a bunch of lings. You made 6 to scout, which is totally fine. But you're already behind by 11 workers because of how much gas you're mining so early. Like, you could still get a layer pretty early, and you could still go for like Ling Bane Hydra. I assume that's what you're gonna do, because you're already going Ling Bane. You could still do something like Ling Bane Hydra, and you could actually get to a point by like, let's say 6.5 to 7 minutes where the army size is gonna be the same as it would be if you rushed tech like this. So basically my point is, here's a more well-rounded foundation for your build, okay? If you're gonna go for a build like this, mine Zergling speed off your gas, and then as soon as you get Ling speed, stop mining with 2 out of the 3 drones, okay? And send them to mine your natural. And do not resaturate your gas again until you have 16 and 16. So you have 32 drones mining on 2 bases. Then you can resaturate your main gas, and then you could actually take a second gas if you wanted to, while you continue droning your third a little bit. You know, like half saturation on your third, 2 gases in a bait nest. And then you take like a layer and go from there. Because what you're doing right now is you're just teching way too fast, and you're killing your own economy before a fight even happens. So you're gonna have less than you should. And then, yeah, you're going Ling Bane Hydra. But notice how this is huge. This is a big deal. If you notice on the worker tab, you're now down by 10, and this guy, he has, if you look at the whole economy here, He has 2 bases saturated, and he's had 2 bases saturated for a while because he's not rushing all of his gases at his third. And the way Protoss works is you can also just build probes the whole time while you build buildings and build units. You don't sacrifice probes in any way. That's how that race works, okay? It's just how it works. With Zerg, you have to be very careful about how you manage your economy really early. The way you managed your economy was for an all-in, honestly. And the way you've managed your base is for a macro. So you've set your buildings, the order of which you took your buildings, how fast you took your third, it was designed to be a macro build. But how much tech and how much gas you threw into it as well is for like an all-in build. So you've turned your macro build into an all-in build because you've set yourself up to have such a shitty economy compared to your opponent. And now you're just going to be behind forever. You're already behind by 25% of his supply. Like, you're at 75% of his 100. It's just huge. That's a major disadvantage. And now you've caught up because you've made a shitload of lings. But he can just ramp up just as fast because he's got 1,000 minerals in the bank and he could ramp up 20 supply right now if he just made 10 zealots. And he's actually going for Archons. He's going to go Archon Charge Lot, which is actually like the ultimate hard counter to Mass Ling. Because here's the thing about Archons with upgrades. It's... Hold on. This is actually one of the best things you probably could have done, is getting into his base. It's actually very fortunate for you. Obviously this looks really good. If this Protoss player, though, all he has to do to defend this is... All he's got to do is this right here. Select all probes in the natural and mine the main. Just send them mineral walking into the main, and he might lose like a good 6 probes in the process getting to his main base, or like 7 probes getting to his main. It's acceptable losses. And if he just recalls his army from up here out in the middle of the map, just recall it to the main immediately right now. Recall the army. He could actually force you out of his base, retake everything, and then just go charge slot Archon and, go from there. And he'll still, even if you killed, let's say 6 drones or 6 probes, you would still be, you would now be, evening out, basically, with the Protoss. It's not hard for the Protoss to defend this. This is really fortunate for you, though, to let tap for this to have happened. And what just happened just now is actually, pure negligence by the Protoss, okay? This game, at this point, is never going to happen in a higher league. This will never happen. Because a Protoss player will never let this happen. He just let all of his probes die. From this point on, you're going to be ahead. But this shouldn't have happened. Your opener was actually really fucking bad compared to his opener. Just keep that in mind, okay? That's really important. Don't think that this was a good opener. This was actually you getting really lucky that the Protoss just let you stab him in the back a shitload, and then it was just like, oh, hey, you're fucked. He actually also decided to just walk home, so all of his probes died. But here's the scary thing about upgraded lings. Mass ling, okay? The scary thing about mass ling against Archon Charge Lot is, look at your upgrades. You even went for gas heavy, and you look at your upgrades. Your 1-1 is finishing just under 7 minutes. And if this guy did not... let's say he put a pylon here or something. Or the Immortal was standing in the wall with 1 shield battery. Or just one Dark Templar was sitting there. And he was just killing lings one by one, which is not letting you get into his base. He could have done a lot of things other than what he just did to lose all these probes. But let's say he walled his base properly and you didn't get in, okay? And then your lings then go back home to try and defend. If this guy has, let's say 2 Archons and 8 Zealots, alright? Which he could totally have afforded to do. 2 Archons can kill like 40 Lings without upgrades by themselves in a Warp Prism with micro going load, unload, load, unload, load, unload. They can totally do it. Because an Archon will one-shots a Ling without an upgrade, and the timing would have hit before your upgrades were done. So this opener for you was super risky. It's I think going 1-1 is actually not necessary against Protoss. Because you, for one, like I just said, you set yourself open for a timing to die if the Protoss attacks you. You got lucky that he didn't, and he just decided to turn around and lose all his probes. But if the Protoss attacks you, there could totally be a timing where you die. The second thing about it is if you go Carapace against Protoss, and the Protoss gets one weapon upgrade, okay? Just one weapon upgrade, which they can get really fast because they can Chrono Boost the Forge. Just one weapon upgrade will turn a Archon here. His Archon will go for biological damage. Instead of saying 35, it'll say 39. It gets +4 per upgrade versus biological. So if you get level 1 armor, you're going to have basically 36 health on a Ling because you have to also account there's 1 armor on it. If you have level 2 armor, you're going to have 37 health on the Ling versus 1 hit from an Archon. If you have 3 armor, it's going to be 38 health on the Ling. My point is all it takes is 1 weapon upgrade to then one-shot a Zergling, even if the Zergling has level 3 armor. There is a break point for weapon upgrades, and for Protoss it's +1 one-shots Lings for Archons forever. So if your primary strategy here is to go for Lings with melee and Carapace, and he's going to get Archons, you're going to be fighting a losing battle because you're investing into an upgrade and also the massing of a unit that is going to get destroyed by an Archon with just 1 weapon upgrade. So it's a bad investment, basically. It's about the equivalent of saying, I'm going to put out a fire with paper. That's a bad investment. You should probably invest into water or something. You know what I'm saying? I lost my slipper. That's what I'm looking for. Anyways, your build has a lot of holes in it that we could totally improve on, that we've talked about already. We'll keep going from here, but this game at this point it should never happen again because this Protoss has thrown the game basically. He set himself up with a better build than yours, but has now thrown the game due to lack of multitasking and poor decision making. So yeah, basically, if I had to weigh you guys so far, I would say his decision making is like a 2 out of 10. Your decision making is like an 8 out of 10 so far, with the choice of how you use your units in this game. Okay, and then if you guys are both taking out of 10, basically, and then your build order is the complete opposite. Your build order would be like a 2 out of 10, and his build order would be like an 8 out of 10. Does that make sense? Like if I'm giving you guys both a piece of the pie, like he's got a way better build than you, but you had way better decision making with how you used your units so far. But now, one more time, I gotta just say it one more time. Your army is 36 Lings and a Hydra. 1 Hydra. His army is 4 Archons, 9 Zealots, a Immortal, and a DT. Now, even though you have 1-1, and he does not have a weapon upgrade, which means he cannot one-shot a Zergling with an Archon. Zealots attack pretty fucking fast in just melee range, and Archons attack relatively fast, and if he has multiple Archons, it no longer matters. Because if 2 Archons, okay, let's say there's 8 Lings, alright? And Archon number 1 attacks the Ling, second from the right, and Archon number 2 attacks the Ling, second from the left. But the Lings are units that stack up really fucking hard. Both Archons splash, and both Archons splash is enough to overlap each other. All 8 Lings just fucking die anyways, because the Archon splash overlaps. Because they're close together, hitting close together Lings. Now let's say the Archon overlap, the splash does not overlap. Well, you still have Zealots next to the Archon that are going to be one-tapping Lings as soon as it gets splashed by the Archon. Even though the Ling won't die to one-shot, it'll live with 1 hit point left. Your Lings are going to just melt so fucking fast in this fight, is what's going to happen. Because pure Ling does not beat Archon Charge Lot. It just doesn't. It's a bad comp. It's a bad choice of unit comp. He's kind of... Okay, so here we go again. All this guy had to do was A-move your shit with his units together, and he's starting to allow his units to space out and get surrounded and killed. This is really bad micro by the Protoss. Really bad unit control. But we'll see how it goes from here. All this guy has to do at this point is go, ah, fuck, I made a mistake. Load his Archon and his Immortal into the Prism and just unload it back here. All he's got to do is keep his units together, and he will crush this army. Oh, man. Like, he keeps letting his units trickle into you. I don't understand. Now, look at this. Now he's actually fighting you with what's left here. He just lost, like, 10 supply for no reason. But, now he's got his army still together at this point now. And now let's look at how well the Lings perform against a few Archons together. And his Zealots aren't even helping the Archons. His Zealots are actually over here. They just killed some drones, which is fine. He's still fighting you in a choke point against Ling. And he had 4 Archons. One of them died over here to negligence. But look at the 3 Archons after all your Lings just died. This one's got 278 out of 350. This one's got 284 out of 350. This one's got 306 out of 350. The reason why you're in a situation like this, where you feel like all you can have is Lings, and this timing is hitting you so early, and you're like, I don't fucking have any Hydras. You would love to have Hydras against an army. If you had like 20 Hydras shooting an Archon, 20 Hydras will like 2-tap an Archon. It'll die super fast. But the reason why you have nothing is because if we go all the way back to the early game, where you mined way too much gas, way too fast, and you had way too much Larva sitting there, it set your whole build, like, if this is where the build is supposed to be, okay, it's like really tight and close. Every time you let a gas mine longer that you didn't need that early, the timing of getting to Hydras kept getting further and further away, and further away. Little by little, every larva that gets not used properly makes your overall time where you're going to start spamming out Hydras further and further away. And you get to a point where you should have been there by, like, let's say 6.5 minutes, or like 6 minutes. But now you're going to get to that point like by 8 minutes because of the inferior economy you gave yourself early on. So it's a big deal. That's the biggest deal of this whole game is your build order. It needs to be improved. Because if you had a better, more crisp build order, this timing would have been dead already. It would have died straight up right in the front of your base because you would have had too much to overpower it. And the game would actually just be over now because it would be like you would have 140 supply versus the Protoss having like 60 supply because you just lost an army. I'll tell you one more time at the end of this game what I want your build order to be, just so it's not confusing. But now that you're going into more Hydra-based army, if you do want to go Ling Hydra, and you also got the Bane Nest, instead of getting Carapace, what you should actually do is this, okay? I'm going to explain one more thing really quick. I already explained the Archon, with the fact that if it has +1 weapons, it will forever one-shot a Zergling. The other thing about an Archon is if you have an Archon, it will forever 3-shot a Hydralisk, okay? Getting Carapace, or not having Carapace, is not going to change that. An Archon will always kill a Hydra in 3 hits, and it will always kill a Zergling in 1 hit if it has 1 weapon upgrade. Just 1 weapon upgrade. An Immortal will always kill a Zergling in 2 hits, regardless of upgrades. It will always kill a Zergling in 2 hits if it has at least 1 weapon upgrade. And regardless of how many Carapace upgrades you have. And if you're fighting a Hydra, it'll always take 5 hits. Just 5 hits to kill a Hydra if you have 1 weapon upgrade. These are checkpoints that never change if the Protoss just has 1 weapon upgrade. Doesn't matter if you have level 2 or level 3 Carapace. It's really important to know this because it means Carapace against Protoss early is a complete fucking waste when the current meta for most Protosses is heavy Archons and heavy Immortals. That's what everyone does. Like, how often do you fight a Protoss that does not go Charge Lot, Archon, Immortal? It's really rare, right? Like, it's not common. This is what you fight against almost all the time. So a better upgrade to get instead of Carapace would actually be ranged weapons, because you would upgrade your Hydras to kill shit faster. Because here's the logic in what the build should be, alright? Here's the logic. If you're going to go for Ling, Bane, Hydra, okay? These three buildings right here. You got Lings, you got Banes, you got Hydras. And the Protoss player is going to go for Archon, Charge Lot, Immortal. If you actually go for weapon upgrades instead of Carapace upgrades, not only is it cheaper, but you're also going to kill his army faster, and it doesn't matter how slow, like, it doesn't matter how many Carapace upgrades you have, he's going to kill you at the same speed regardless, okay? You could have 3 Carapace upgrades, you could have 0 Carapace upgrades, he's still going to kill you just as fast either way. It's the same speed at how fast you die. But if you have weapon upgrades, you're going to kill, like on your Hydras and your Zerglings, you're going to kill him faster, and by eliminating his units quicker, you actually keep your army alive, like more of your army alive, because you eliminate his DPS faster than he's killing you. Does that make sense? It's like 2 guys shooting each other really quickly, but instead of having like a t-shirt on that's not going to really protect you from the bullets, now you have a second gun and you're shooting him with 2 guns instead of just 1. Like, you're still going to get fucked up either way. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Carapace isn't going to stop that. But if you kill him faster, you will take less damage overall because you kill his shit quicker. You're going to get fucked up, though, either way. It's just how this goes. It's how Protoss works. And if you think about it like this, too, the only unit a Carapace upgrade would actually benefit against is actually a Charge Lot. It will actually make a difference against Charge Lots. But the Charge Lots are not actually supposed to be part of the fight. Because if you get melee upgrades, and you get a speed upgrade on your Banelings, and you make Banelings, and you roll your Banes as he attacks you, it's going to be Banelings rolling into Charge Lots, and all that shit's going to die. Banelings delete... Banelings not only delete themselves, but they also delete the Charge Lots, okay? So then it becomes your leftover Zerglings and Hydras versus Archon Immortal. So, yeah, Carapace, pointless. Get Banelings, way better. Banelings and Hydra weapon upgrades, so you can eliminate his army faster. Now this is turning into like a little mini base trade. So here, look, check it out. Watch this. Here's a perfect example, okay? Perfect example. He actually has a +1 weapon upgrade now. I'm glad he does, because now here's a perfect example. Look at your 2/2 Lings, okay? Watch this Immortal shooting this Ling. He just shot once, 2 shot, 1, 2 shot. Now let's look at the Archons. 1 shot. I'm gonna go slow. Just watch each Archon's attack. Watch a Ling die every time. Dead. 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 And it AoEs too, which is the crazy part about it. It AoEs. The best thing you could do in this situation would be to re-rally. Like, stop adding... If you're adding in your units into your control group, stop doing that right now. And instead, re-rally your main to, like, the back of your base. And just let your Hydras be. Let them be. This guy's all-inning you. And that's that. Just re-rally your main units to your main. And just try to regroup a new army while he's killing your natural. That would be, I would say, the best thing you could do. Maybe make some Banes. Make some Hydras if you can. But just having your units on move command, like just on rally command into your Hydras is, or, you know, past his units is just going to get him killed. So it's something to keep in mind. If you ever go into a base raid like this, try to just regroup a second army behind your base. If you plan on trying to make a stand and defend it, and not just evacuate your drones beforehand entirely and let your base die. Does that make sense? I'll explain it really quickly one more time, just because I feel like I did it really fast and some people might not understand what I meant. If you're going to base trade someone, there are two ways you do it. Number one is before your base even dies and before you lose your drones, you evacuate all your overlords to somewhere they're not going to die and send your drones away. And then every unit that spawns, you try to get them out of the base and get over here to reinforce your army. That's one way to do it. And you just run your drones around and expand. The second way to do it is to not run your drones away and mine as much money as you can and just re-rally all your hatcheries to the back of your base and just build a new army as fast as you can while you send whatever you already have on the map to kill his base. And if you can actually stop his army and kill it, and your army has then killed his base, you win. Those are the two ways you defend base trade, or that you can win a base trade. This way, where you're going to fight it, is kind of scary, I would say. It's not really Zerg's advantage to fight the army. I would almost always recommend, if you're going to base trade, you do the way where you run your drones around and run around the map. Because the one advantage of Zerg is that Zerg has mobility. Almost every single unit Zerg has is faster than Protoss. Like, the only exception is a Phoenix versus a Mutalisk. That's like the only exception. A Zergling is faster than a Zealot. A Hydra is faster than a Stalker and a fucking Adept. A Hydra is also faster than Archons and Immortals. Zerglings are faster than Archon Immortals. You can totally run around his army all day and kill his buildings in a situation where you're running around the map a lot. So that's your advantage. His advantage is power of his army. And unless you can just blow it all up with Banelings right away, fighting him straight up is probably going to lose you the game. I'm kind of telling you more advanced theory, or not theory, but like advanced strategy styles of StarCraft. If you want to keep it really simple, you can forget everything I said and just fix your build order, and none of this would have happened. You would have just straight up crushed his army in the first push. So I'm going to recap one more time on the build, okay? This is what I want you to do from now on. And this will make your games go so much smoother. This is what you do. 17 hatch, or 16 hatch, whatever you fucking like, it doesn't matter, whatever. Just make a hatchery. 16 or 17 supply. Then drone up to 18, okay? Just go up to 18 drones after you make the hatchery, no matter what. Whether or not you took a hatchery at 16 or at 17. Drone up to 18 drones. Build a spawning pool. And as soon as you build a spawning pool, your next 25 minerals, just build a gas. So you'll go 18, 17. 18 pool, 17 gas. And then I want you to drone to keep droning until you have a fully saturated gas. And then you have, like, 2 queens going, and you have, like, 2 drones on natural at this point. All right? Now, at this point, you got to watch your gas. Pay attention to your gas, because you're probably going to be getting close to getting 100 gas relatively soon in the next, like, 20 seconds. Take off 2 drones when you are around 90 gas. 92 is perfect. Is when you take off 1 and then another one, because you'll be at 100 right as you take off the second drone, which means you're mining with 1 drone as soon as you hit 100 gas. Just take off 2 drones when you hit 100 gas, basically, and start mining minerals with those drones. And you can start Zergling speed, and then you can also start like 4 lings, and that's totally fine. Or 6 lings, or whatever you feel comfortable with, and you can go scout around the map and shit like that. While you're scouting, that tells you kind of what's going on, and try to have an idea. I tried to give you some ideas here earlier when I was talking about how he was making zealots and stuff and what that could mean. But if you just saturate 2 mineral lines before you retake your gas, so you have at least, at the minimum, 32 drones mining minerals before you retake gas production, you will have such a better economy overall, because you'll notice you'll never have larvae sitting there, and you'll be able to spend all your larvae as you get it. And then you'll do things like you'll actually be able to saturate your 3rd a little faster. You'll be able to take a 4th faster. And by the time you actually do take your gas, which is after 2 base saturation, and you'll go into a layer, inevitably go into hydras, stuff like that, you'll notice that by the time the Protoss hits you, you're going to have just as much, if not more, of an army that you would have had anyways with a build like this. But then since you'll have more economy, you'll build future army faster and faster. And you'll actually be able to do things like max out on Lingbane Hydra at like 9 minutes. Let's look at where your build was at 9 minutes. You were at 95 supply at 9 minutes. And obviously, you know, this game got a little weird. You killed, this is after you've already killed probes and stuff like that. But your supply is less than half of what it could have been if you just played like a good macro build. Does that make sense? Like your build is the biggest problem here. Your gas timing and your build, your larva usage is the biggest problem here by far. That is the general main reason why it's creating all these other problems for you after that. Because if you have like a bad foundation, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're playing off of a bad foundation. So it makes everything else way harder than it should be. So just keep that in mind. Saturate 2 base mineral line before you retake your gas in your main. And then as soon as you start saturating your third with like, let's say half mineral line, you can take a natural gas, like a second gas or even a third gas at that point. And do not ever go above 3 gases until you're saturated fully on 3 mineral lines. And then you can take all 6 gases if you're going to go for like Lingbane Hydra. Because if you saturate more gases than 3 before you have saturated 3 base mineral line, you're going to once again fall into a situation where you have way too much fucking gas and not enough money to make drones and units and whatever at that point. So just keep that in mind. Here's a perfect build for you, okay? This is actually a perfect build for you. Just to keep it really simple, and this will make your life so easy. Speedling opening like you did. Stop mining gas with you know, just keep 1 mining. Saturate 2 mineral lines. 2 mineral line saturation, and then go back up to 2 gas. Off these 2 gases, you can go into like a layer and make a baling nest, make a hydrogen. Do not start upgrades yet, okay? Don't start evo chambers yet. Just use your basic tech of Lingbane Hydra for this point in time, off of 2 gas. While you're on 2 gases, you make a choice. Do I need to make Lingbane? Am I going to get all in? Do I need to make more queens? Do I need to defend a prism? You decide what you think is best for what you need at that point in the game. But if your choice is to go, okay, I can still macro. He's macroing. He's making probes. He's expanded. I'm going to make drones. If that's your choice, if it's a standard game, okay, if it's a standard macro game, stay on 2 gases until you have 3 fully saturated mineral lines. And then take all 6 gases at once and saturate them while maintaining 3 base saturation. If you do that, you're going to be fucking rich. You're going to have so much money. You're going to have more money than you know what to do with. You're going to be fucking Scrooge McDuck diving into a pool of gold coins. Just fucking throwing money around like it's nobody's business. It doesn't matter. You're going to have so much fucking more money than you can handle. Then your problem's going to be, how do I spend all this money I have? Oh, let's start making macro hatches. Because I can't spend it all. I have too much. And your army sizes are going to grow because of it. Because you have just a better economy. And your life is going to be so much better at defending things like that. Because when they show up, you could do things like fucking A-move your units. Because you just have so much of it. Instead of being like, ah, shit, I have like 2 Hydras trying to kite 10 Zealots. You know what I mean? And that will help you out a lot. And yes, do not ever get Carapace against Protoss. On the ground. It's a fucking waste. You want to know the only unit that Carapace on the ground actually benefits fighting against? In a realistic situation. It only benefits fighting against a carrier if your plan is to go for like Hydra Infester against carrier. That's it. That's it. It's the only one. Because realistically, if you're going to be fighting against charge lots, how often are you going to be fighting against just charge lots? It's like really uncommon. You know what I mean? Like, unless the guy is going to go for a charge lot all in, if that was his build, he's not even going to be out, or his build will hit you before your Carapace is even done anyways. That build is a really fast all in. So you won't even have Carapace in the first place against that. You will fucking die before your Carapace is even done if he has too many Zealots. Because he's not going to have an upgrade. You're not going to have an upgrade. He's just going to have Zealots hitting you that are 0/0/0. Maybe they have charge, but that's not what I mean. I'm talking about like a Forge upgrade or an Evo Chamber upgrade. But yeah, Carapace is something you want to get against Protoss really late game. Like if you want to, if the guy is going to start transitioning into this like army that is beyond Hydra, or sorry, it's beyond Charge Lot Archon Immortal. He's going to start transitioning into like Sky Toss with Charge Lot run bys and stuff like that. That's what he's going to start doing now. Then getting Carapace is totally fine. I have 100% a support of Carapace upgrades at that point in the game. But early on, all they do is set you behind, and it makes it harder for you because you've tied up your resources into something that doesn't actually help you at this point in the game, which in turn means you have less of something else that does help you because you don't have infinite money. You have to pick and choose where you spend your money. Does that make sense? You have to make the build should branch in a way that makes sense throughout the game, and you can't do everything all at once. And doing something that's irrelevant is not where you want to go because it takes away something that is actually relevant. Anyways, I hope that helped. That was a bit of analysis there. I hope that helps you out, man. Eidel.